After Alex Pereira beat Khalil Rountree in the 4th round via TKO at UFC 307, he had an interview with Magomed Ankalaev in which he said he has earned some well-deserving rest. Alex fought 4 times within the last 12 months and 3 times this year alone, and all 3 of them being title defenses. So if someone in the roster deserves some rest, it's definitely Alex. But things took a weird turn when Alex said this. He said this training camp leading to Khalil Rountree's fight was one of the hardest training camps of his entire career, and that he can't go into details, but a lot of things were going behind the scenes. And we did not have to speculate on what those things are because Alex Pereira went to the press conference and elaborated on a lot of those things. And the things he said in the press conference put this entire fight into a whole different perspective. Because not only the training camp was a mess, everything leading up to this fight was a complete disaster. Here's how everything started. When he started his training camp for Khalil Rountree back in Brazil, he suffered a rib injury. This was a rib injury he suffered a year ago, but it came back right during this training camp. And it's important for me to emphasize the fact that an injury during the training camp is actually a lot worse than you think. You can't perform and practice in your ideal condition when you're training with your sparring partners. And even during strength and conditioning sessions, you're not in your best form. And not only does this take a physical toll on you, but mentally, you're not feeling the best version of yourself. And that can lead to some negative side effects during your actual fight performance. But this rib injury was just the beginning. Oh, trust me, it gets much worse. While this rib injury was already being a problem, he started getting sick and he ended up having a fever. After talking to the doctors put him on antibiotics. Now, I have been on antibiotics and probably you have too, and antibiotics are pretty safe. But in certain cases, it can cause some side effects such as nausea, dizziness, and many other negative impacts an athlete in this level should not be suffering from. Because in the ideal condition, someone like Alex Pereira should not be on antibiotics, not being on antibiotics and praying nothing bad happens. But the problems were not just health related. He also had visa issues. He had trouble getting his visa approved and he went to his consulate every single day hoping he gets his approval. And somehow he get the approval and now he's in the US of A. But when you think it can't get worse, trust me, it gets much worse. After he came to the USA, his fever got much worse. And it was not just the fever this time. He was also now suffering from a sore throat. And after visiting the doctors, he was put on another round of antibiotics. And when Alex and his entire team thought, at least now it will get much better, universe basically said, oh, fuck you, Alex, and gave him a toe injury. Alex was suffering from a toe ligament injury leading up to UFC 300, the Jamal Hill fight. And just like the rib injury, this toe injury also came back right during this god-forsaken training camp. Now, here's a list of everything Alex is suffering from right now. A fever, a sore throat, 2 rounds of antibiotics, visa issues, and then most importantly, a rib injury and a toe injury. Everything that could go wrong went completely wrong, and he's facing one of the most dangerous men in his division that can knock his lights out with just one punch. And in case some of you may be wondering, well, that's a lot of problems. Why did not he pull out from the fight? Well, he almost did. During the latest Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen's podcast, Good Guy, Bad Guy, Daniel said this.
I was talking to his manager and his coach after the fight, and they said they told the UFC, we're going to go to Salt Lake, we're going to try to train, but we may pull out. The UFC said to him, that would suck, but let us know how it goes because we have 2 title fights. We'll elevate one if that's what we need to do.
Meaning, Alex Pereira almost pulled out from this fight, leading to... I can't even say this with a straight face. Rakic Pennington versus Juliana Pena being the headliner of UFC 307. And it gets much worse when you understand the fact that then the co-main could have been Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista. Remember the last weekend how terrible the main card was? And how Khalil and Alex single-handedly saved that event? And if for some reason Alex pulled out from this event, then what could have happened was not Alex saving the card, but this card single-handedly being the worst UFC pay-per-view card of all time. I mean, imagine Kyla Harrison's, under the expectation performance, and then Kevin Holland not being able to continue due to his rib injury, and then Jose Aldo getting robbed by that elf-looking Mario Bautista, and the event finally ending with Juliana Pena taking Rakic Pennington, going the entire distance and then ending with another robbery. Oh boy, I am not even going to entertain the idea of that actually being a reality, because it would have been absolutely terrible day for a UFC fan. But this video necessarily is not about Alex's training camp, but rather how amazing that performance was, knowing now what happened during the training camp. Dude was suffering from multiple physical injuries, not being able to train and practice at his fullest potential. And then he went in there, withheld the storm of Khalil Rountree's performance for the first and the second round, and the third and the fourth, he got much better. The man with a sore throat and a fever, which by the way, you could hear Alex cough and blow his nose when he was talking to his corner. I actually remember this moment while watching the fight, and I went, I mean, that's weird, hopefully that's just a random thing, but no. Now with the fever and the sore throat, that makes a lot of sense. And the crazy part is, even with all that, he was the man with the better cardio compared to Khalil Rountree while on elevation. I don't believe in magic and miracles, but Alex Pereira makes me question it. So what's next for him? Well, Alex Pereira should take all the time he needs in the world. Dude is the champion, and the only man he's supposed to fight next is the winner of Magomed Ankalaev versus Aleksandar Rakic. And whoever wins that fight is going to be Alex Pereira's next opponent. And that fight has not even happened yet, and that's going to happen in next month. And depending on the damage the fight absorbed, the winner might need to take some time off too. So what Alex should do is to take as much time as humanly possible for him to recover and get back to his full potential. Assuming that Magomed Ankalaev is probably going to win over Aleksandar Rakic, I do not want him performing in this condition against Ankalaev. I want him to go injury-free and have a great training camp and just feel good leading up to the fight. Because assuming Magomed is his next opponent and Alex beating him, that leaves a lot of questions unanswered. If Alex beats Magomed Ankalaev, everyone else in the division he has already beaten. I mean, in that scenario, Jamal Hill is out of the equation, Yuri Prohaska, Jan Blachowicz, Khalil Rountree obviously, and Magomed Ankalaev. Now we're talking about a situation in which these title contenders should fight each other and get rematches, and then Alex Pereira should fight those guys. What I'm trying to say is, there's no hurry. Alex should take his time, because leading up to the Magomed fight, he has enough time, and even after that, he has plenty of time to make a couple of interesting decisions, in which I think the most interesting one is a bulk up to the heavyweight division. If someone in the UFC history has ever come closer to being a 3-division champion, that man is Alex Pereira. No one has ever come closer to achieving that goal, because last time I checked, there are plenty of double champions, but there are no triple champions. And if the first man to ever achieve that accomplishment is going to be Alex Pereira, I am the happiest man in the world. And obviously we are talking about a rare case and a really hard, tough fight for Alex Pereira, because in the heavyweight division, everyone has power. Alex has inhuman power, but almost every heavyweight is a hard hitter. And during that time, the potential candidate for Alex Pereira heavyweight bout is going to be Tom Aspinall. Guys, John Jones is not fighting Tom Aspinall. John is going to retire in a couple of months after he fights Stipe Miocic. Even last year, when this whole thing was first announced, Jones' plan was to beat Stipe and then walk towards sunset. So he's definitely not fighting Stipe Miocic and going for a harder fight just to prove us wrong and then fight Tom Aspinall. That's not happening. He is retiring after the Stipe Miocic fight. It's going to be Tom Aspinall as the champion, and depending, we are talking about a 1 to 2 year time frame, it's going to be Alex Pereira versus Tom Aspinall for the heavyweight title in the ideal scenario, assuming that Alex Pereira actually beats Magomed Ankalaev, which I am not going to overlook, but let's say he's going to win that. At least let's hope so. And if that fight happens, Alex Pereira goes out there and then defeats Tom Aspinall. First of all, I like Tom, so it's kind of like your favorite guy beating another one of your favorite guys, so it's a tough situation for me, but I still prefer Alex Pereira over Tom. And I would take Alex Pereira being the triple champion over anything in the UFC. But whichever the direction that fight goes, we are talking about a year and 2 years into the future. And we have plenty of time left till then. So, in the meantime, let's focus on this weekend's fight night between Brandon Royval versus Tatsuro Taira. And that is going to be a really fun fight. A Japanese prospect, 16 wins, and 0 losses, undefeated, and a really good grappler, who by the way has really solid potential to be the next flyweight champion, so really looking forward to it. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking the video. It helps me out a lot because then YouTube pushes this video to more people. And I consistently upload, so subscribe. Then YouTube will make sure to recommend my future videos to you. And by the way, check this video out. This is my entire thoughts on the UFC 307 event, the Alex Pereira and the Khalil Rountree fight, and also I got a couple of strong words for Mario Bautista. Yeah, just check that video out. It's a fun watch. And I will see you soon once again in a couple of days.